I want to tell you about a conversation that changed everything for me. Years ago, I was sitting with someone I considered a close friend, the kind of person you trust with the tender stuff, the fears you don't say out loud, the dreams you're almost too afraid to claim. And in that moment, I did exactly that. I let my guard down, shared something real, and their response, it wasn't cruel, it wasn't even overtly dismissive, but it was off. A forced smile, a subtle shift in posture, a half-hearted, oh wow, yeah, that's a lot. And suddenly, I felt too much. I wanted to grab my words and stuff them back in. I found myself laughing it off, minimizing, making sure they felt comfortable while I sat there feeling completely exposed. Not everyone who's kind to you is safe for you. Let that sink in for a second. Because if you've ever walked away from a conversation feeling smaller than when you started, if you've ever second-guessed your worth after opening up, if you've ever felt like your vulnerability was met with silence, judgment, or a subtle shift that made you regret sharing it all, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Emotional safety isn't about how long you've known someone. It's not about titles like best friend, partner, or even family. It's about how they hold space for your truth. And today, we're going to talk about what that actually looks like, how to recognize it, how to cultivate it, and most importantly, how to stop handing your deepest truths to people who haven't earned that trust. Because your voice, your story, your heart, they deserve to be held with care. Let's dive in. They listen to understand, not to fix or judge. Now, I don't know about you, but I spent a good chunk of my life believing that the people who love us are supposed to help us solve our problems. That if I came to you with something hard, the most loving thing you could do was offer me advice, a solution, a way to fix whatever I was feeling. And let's be honest, a lot of us were raised to believe this. Whether it was a well-meaning parent saying, oh, don't cry, it's not that bad, or a friend who immediately jumps to, here's what you should do. But here's what I've learned. When we share something vulnerable, we're not looking for someone to fix it. We're looking for someone to hold it. Think about the last time you really opened up to someone about something heavy. Maybe it was fear, maybe it was grief, maybe it was that creeping self-doubt that whispers, you're not enough. And before you even got the whole sentence out, the other person was already armed with solutions. You just need to think positive. Have you tried meditating? Oh, that's nothing. One time. And suddenly you're sitting there nodding, pretending this response helped when really it just made you feel more alone. See the need to fix someone's pain? That comes from our discomfort, not theirs. It's our own fear of sitting with hard emotions. It's the feeling of, if I can just get them to feel better, then I don't have to feel awkward or helpless. But emotional safety isn't about making things more comfortable. It's about making things seen. A truly safe person doesn't rush to give you answers. They don't immediately pivot to their own experiences. They don't minimize or dismiss what you're feeling. They sit with you, they stay curious, they say things like, that sounds really hard, tell me more, or I'm here, I'm listening, and let me be clear, this is hard. I still catch myself wanting to jump in with solutions when someone I love is struggling. But I remind myself, listening is not the same as problem solving. Listening is about presence, not performance. Research backs this up. Studies show that when people feel deeply heard, when they experience what psychologists call reflective listening, their brain actually responds as if they're receiving physical comfort. Their heart rate slows, their cortisol, stress hormone levels drop. Simply being heard creates a biological sense of safety. On the other hand, when we feel unheard, dismissed, or rushed through our emotions, the brain registers that as a threat. Our nervous system goes into fight or flight mode. We either shut down, get defensive, or learn to stop sharing altogether. That's why emotional safety isn't about who loves you, it's about how they love you. So if you want to know if someone is truly safe for you, ask yourself, do I feel like they're actually listening? Not just hearing the words, but really leaning in without judgment, without fixing, without making it about them? Do they make space for my emotions, or do I find myself rushing to make them comfortable? Because the people who are safe for us, they don't need to rescue us from our feelings. They trust that we're strong enough to sit in them, and they sit with us too. You don't feel like your vulnerability is a burden. Have you ever started a sentence with, I know this sounds silly, but, or sorry, I don't mean to be dramatic, before sharing something real? Yeah, me too. And let's talk about why that happens. Somewhere along the way, many of us learned that our emotions are too much. Maybe we were told, you're so sensitive, or you're overreacting, or it's not that big of a deal. Maybe we got the message, explicitly or not, that our feelings made things harder for the people around us. So we started shrinking them, editing them, apologizing for them. And here's the heartbreaking part. When we believe our emotions are a burden, we start believing we are a burden. That's why emotional safety isn't just about how people respond to our feelings. It's about whether they make us feel like we have permission to have them in the first place. Think about the people in your life. When you're struggling, when you're anxious, overwhelmed, or barely holding it together, do you feel like you have to justify your feelings before you share them? Do you find yourself making them smaller, more palatable? Do you hear yourself saying, I shouldn't feel this way? Or it's not a big deal, I just need to get over it, before you've even given yourself the chance to fully feel it? That's a sign that emotional safety might be missing. A safe person, the kind who can hold your truth without making you feel like your emotions are an inconvenience. They don't sigh when you open up. They don't make you feel like you're asking too much just by needing support. They don't rush you through your feelings so they can move on to something easier or something lighter. Instead, they say things like, I'm here, I've got you. You don't have to do this alone. And let me tell you, those words, they can be life-changing, because when someone reassures you without you having to ask that your emotions are valid, that you are not a burden, it rewires something deep inside of you. It starts to undo years of conditioning that taught you to keep things bottled up. And I want to be clear, this isn't about needing someone to fix our pain or have all the right words. This is about the simple, profound power of holding space. Because here's the truth. Holding space for someone else's emotions is not about having the right response. It's about being the right response. And that's hard. We live in a world that teaches us to move on quickly, to look on the bright side, to not dwell on hard things. But emotional safety is not about rushing past the discomfort. It's about sitting in it together. So if you want to know if someone is truly safe for you, pay attention to how you feel after you share something vulnerable. Do you feel lighter, or do you feel like you need to apologize for taking up space? Do you feel held, or do you feel like you need to explain why you needed support in the first place? Because here's what I know for sure. Your feelings are never too much for the right people. The people who are safe for you, they remind you without hesitation, without judgment, that you are not a burden. And when you find people like that, you hold on to them, because they are rare and they are worth everything. They hold your truth without weaponizing it. If you've ever trusted someone with something deeply personal, something raw, something that took everything in you to say out loud, only to have it thrown back at you later, you know exactly how painful this is. It's like handing someone a fragile piece of yourself and watching them put it in their back pocket, knowing they might pull it out and use it against you when it benefits them. And let's be clear, emotional safety ends the moment someone turns your vulnerability into ammunition. This doesn't always happen in obvious ways. It's not always someone yelling your deepest insecurity at you in the middle of an argument. Sometimes it's more subtle, a passive-aggressive joke, a comment in front of other people that hits a little too close to home. Well, you've always been like that, when you're trying to grow past something. And in that moment, you realize, whether they meant to or not, they just took something sacred and made it sharp. And when that happens enough times, we learn. We learn to stop sharing. We learn to second guess who is actually safe for us. Because here's the thing, trust isn't just about who you share your truth with. It's about what they do with that truth. Safe people hold your words like something valuable, something fragile. They don't store them up like leverage. They don't file them away for later use. They don't use your past mistakes, your struggles, or your fears as a way to gain the upper hand when it's convenient. And this isn't just about how people treat us. this is also about how we show up for others. Because if we want deep, connected, meaningful relationships, we have to ask ourselves the hard question, do I do this? Do I ever take someone's vulnerable moment and turn it into a weapon? Do I ever bring up something they told me in confidence as a way to win an argument? Do I ever joke about something that I know is painful for them? And if the answer is yes, if there's even a moment of hesitation, then we have some work to do. Because emotional safety isn't just something we deserve, it's something we build. So how do we know if someone is truly safe for us? We pay attention, we notice how they hold the things we've shared. Do they treat our vulnerabilities with care, or do they use them as a tool for control? Do they respect our boundaries, or do they push just enough to make us question if we're overreacting? Do they remind us that our truth is safe with them? Not just when things are easy, but when things get hard. Because the right people, the safe ones, they don't just hold our truth, they honor it. And that changes everything. You don't have to perform or shrink to be accepted. Have you ever been in a conversation where you suddenly realize you're editing yourself? Not in a, let me be thoughtful about my words kind of way, but in a, let me dial this down so I don't make them uncomfortable kind of way. You catch yourself choosing your words carefully, laughing at the right moments, holding back an opinion, or pretending something didn't bother you just to keep the peace. And maybe, at first, it doesn't seem like a big deal. It's just a habit, a little emotional shape-shifting. But then, over time, you start noticing that every time you're around this person, you feel a little smaller, a little less you. That's not emotional safety. That's survival. Safe people don't require you to perform. They don't need you to be less of anything, less sensitive, less ambitious, less emotional, less honest, so they can be more comfortable. They don't make you feel like you have to put on a version of yourself that's easier to digest. And let's be honest, a lot of us learned to do this early. Maybe it was a parent who only praised you when you were good and easy to handle. Maybe it was a friend group where you had to be the funny one or the strong one to feel like you belonged. Or maybe you just picked up on the unspoken rule, if people are uncomfortable with who you really are, adjust. But here's the cost of that. The more we shrink, the more we teach ourselves that who we really are is too much. And I need you to hear this. You are not too much. The people who are truly safe for you will never make you feel like you have to manage yourself in order to be loved, respected, or included. They will never make you question whether your excitement is too loud, your sadness is too heavy, or your truth is too inconvenient. They don't celebrate a watered down version of you, they celebrate all of you. And this goes both ways. If we want to be emotionally safe for the people in our lives, we have to ask ourselves, do I give people permission to be fully themselves? Or do I make them feel like they need to filter, perform, or shrink so I can stay comfortable? Emotional safety is about belonging, not just fitting in. And there's a huge difference. Fitting in means changing yourself to be accepted. Belonging means being accepted as you are. So if you want to know if someone is truly safe for you, notice how you feel in their presence. Do you feel expansive, or do you feel like you have to squeeze yourself into a smaller version of who you are? Do you feel the freedom to be fully yourself, or are you always calculating how much of yourself is allowed in the space? Because the people who are safe for you, they don't just tolerate who you are, they embrace who you are. And that's the difference between being accepted and truly belonging. They take accountability and make it safe for you to do the same. If there's one thing I know for sure, it's this. No matter how much we love someone, no matter how emotionally intelligent we try to be, we are going to mess up. We are going to say the wrong thing. We are going to get defensive. We are going to hurt the people we love, even when we don't mean to, because being human is messy. But you know what separates a safe person from an unsafe one? It's not never making mistakes. It's how they show up when they do. Unsafe people avoid accountability. They shift blame. They say things like, you're too sensitive, or that's not what I meant. You're twisting my words. They make it about your reaction instead of their action. And over time, you start learning that bringing up hurt, voicing when something doesn't feel okay isn't worth it because it will just get turned back on you. But safe people, they make room for hard conversations. They don't make you regret telling them how you feel. When you say, hey, this really hurt me, they don't roll their eyes or get defensive. They pause, they listen, they reflect, and they say, I hear you. I didn't mean to hurt you, but I see that I did, and I'm sorry. And that right there, that's emotional safety. Because let's be honest, apologizing well isn't easy. Our first instinct is often to protect our own ego. I didn't mean it like that. You're overreacting. That's not fair. But when we do that, we send a message, whether we realize it or not, that our comfort is more important than their pain, that being right matters more than being connected. And I don't know about you, but I don't want relationships where people are just trying to be right. I want relationships where people are trying to be real. And real relationships require accountability. Now, this isn't just about whether they take accountability. It's also about whether you feel safe enough to do the same. Because emotional safety is a two-way street. If you're in a relationship where you feel like you can't admit when you've made a mistake, where you feel like owning up to something will be used against you, thrown in your face later, or turned into a personal attack, that's not safety. That's fear. Safe people make it easy to be honest. They don't weaponize your mistakes. They don't keep score. They allow space for growth, both theirs and yours. And let me say this, if someone never admits they're wrong, never says, I'm sorry without attaching a justification, never takes ownership of their impact, that's not emotional safety. That's control, and you deserve better. Because at the end of the day, emotional safety isn't about never getting hurt. It's about knowing that when rupture happens, repair will follow. It's about knowing that you can be honest, that you can speak your truth, and that the people in your life will meet you with humility, not hostility. And that's the foundation of every truly safe relationship. Emotional safety isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. It's the difference between relationships that hold us and relationships that harm us. And the truth is, we don't just deserve safe people. We need them. We need spaces where we can speak without fear, where we can be fully seen without shrinking, where our truth is held with care, not used as a weapon. So if you're wondering whether someone is truly emotionally safe for you, listen to your body. Pay attention to how you feel around them. Do you feel lighter, or do you feel like you're constantly bracing for impact? Do you feel free to be yourself, or do you feel like you have to perform, adjust, or apologize just for existing? And if you're realizing that someone in your life doesn't feel safe, that their presence drains more than it restores, know this. You are allowed to choose differently. You are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed to seek relationships where safety isn't just a hope, but a given. Because the right people, they don't make you earn safety. They don't make you prove you're worthy of care. They don't keep you small to make themselves comfortable. They love you in a way that makes you more of yourself, not less. So go find those people, go be those people, and above all, remember, you are never too much for the right hearts. Good luck, and take care of yourself.